Welcome back. We're doing Nightfighter Ace. I'm going to pick up on mission or sortie number 3, and I'll show you how that's done. I do have the rulebook in front of me because I still need it for just about everything I'm doing, but I do know what, at least at a high level, I'm doing here, so let's go ahead and get started. So first thing that we do is we go to the raid chart. And so it always tells you what to roll, because you get a D10 and 2D6. So it says roll 2D6. So I rolled a 7. So if you see here, 7 is Berlin. They're raiding Berlin. Okay, so then you go over here to your operations map, and you put this on Berlin, which is here. So that's the raid target. I just realized the other error that I forgot during setup. This operations map has a bright moon, a full moon, and then a bright moon again, and then no moon. This is supposed to be a dark moon, and this is supposed to be -1. That's a printing error. So it wasn't supposed to have the same thing twice. This is supposed to be a dark moon with a -1, and then a no moon with a -2. That's the other error. Okay, so they're doing Berlin. Berlin is not good for us. I'll explain that in a second. But the moon status is set based on when the sortie occurs. So this is time elapsing. The moon is bright, so we get a +1. So we put the moon on bright. That's a +1 to our intercept roll. It also helps with landing, and the weather does too. So next thing we do, and there's a nice little thing here, roll for raid, check for weather. So we're gonna go ahead and roll for weather now. So I rolled a 4. Now the weather chart is right here. You can see 1 to 7, good weather. The other thing they did, which I think I really appreciate, is they actually put it right there. So if you just look here, 1 to 7 is good. 8, 9, and 10 would have been something else. And by the way, this +1 for landing is bad. The lower number is better. In Skies Over the Reich, everything higher numbers are always better. In this game, the lower numbers tend to be better. Not always, but mostly. Okay, so once you do that, then your next step is check for random electronics failure. It's a 2D6 on chart B4. So you have 2 sets of charts. And so I'm going to put this one down, and then B4 is the aircraft damage listings, and here's the electronics failure. I rolled a 10. The secondary radar is damaged. Okay, so I come over here, and I have a main radar. I do not have a secondary radar. Rules say that if it damages something that doesn't exist, then nothing happens. So nothing happens. So we're okay there. Next, move from the takeoff endurance box to the raid location endurance box. Okay, so what does that mean? That means, technically speaking, your plane is in the hangar, and then when you start a sortie, you move to your takeoff location. So I'm Munich. That's very important. Wherever your base is going to determine which of these rows you start off in. So I'm in Munich, and what it's saying is I need to go to my target. So Berlin is really far away. So 1, 2, 3, 4. See, there's a Berlin here. I just lost 5 rounds of fuel. So I'm only going to get 2 intercept chances to find a bomber, and then I'm going to be forced to land. So it's a bummer thing. Munich is a bad place to start. But let's keep playing the mission, and I'll show you how it goes. Next, it says roll for interception in each remaining endurance box. So what that's saying is we're going to roll for intercept here, and then this is going to move 1 to the right, and then we're going to intercept here, and then this is going to move 1 to the right, and then we land. If we would have started here, I would have rolled for an intercept every step of the way. That's all that's trying to say. So when we roll for intercept, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's going to happen. You know, this is going to loop here, and then this is after you land, these two. So we're going to roll for intercept on table B1. B1 is this chart here. So I'm going to go ahead and roll. It says roll 1d10. So I'm rolling the wrong die here. Where's the d10? Here it is. So I rolled a 9. Okay, a 9 in this case is good. It says intercept. And see, it shows 2 stars. A natural 10 is always an intercept. A natural 1 is always unsure of location. By the way, this unsure of location is nasty. It means you get lost and you basically go home. So now things are going to happen here. You get a -1 penalty if there's no working radar. Our radar is good. Remember, we had damage to the secondary radar, but our main radar is fine. Jamming per sorting log. There is no jamming. That occurs later, and I can explain that. On the second page, you can see here, I know it's upside down, but see how it says jamming +2? That doesn't happen until you get into the 1944 area. We're in 43. There's no jamming going on. No comments about jamming until way down at the bottom. So don't worry about that. Okay. So, is there no moon or is it dark? No, remember it's a bright, so we actually get to add +1 to our roll. So then, if we had this skill, we get +1, and then we get +1 for every operational radar. So we get +1 for that. So we actually get to add +2 to our roll. Well, we rolled a 9, +2 is 11, so we got what's called a bomber stream. Okay, a bomber stream is a very special thing, and it's right here in the rule book on 7.1.5. If an interception roll indicates a bomber stream, then a special series of interceptions may occur. So here's what this is saying. I've read this before. I more or less understand it. Remember how I explained that we're going to get 1 intercept chance here, and then it's going to move to the right, and then we're going to get 1 intercept chance here. A bomber stream means we're going to get an intercept chance here, which we succeeded. We're going to fight a bomber. Then after that fight is over, we don't move. We get to stay here and then try again to intercept another one. That's what bomber stream means. Now there's a bomber stream skill that you can get. And that allows you to continue to engage new targets. So remember how we had to roll a die? We have to roll a die to see if we intercept a plane. And you only intercept on a 9 or a 10 or better. So it's a very poor odds of finding a plane, right? We got very lucky. We just intercepted one, and not only did we intercept one, but we got this bomber stream. Well, after this first battle is over, let's assume we do well, we're going to get a chance to try again. So that means I have to roll a second time, and I get to roll another time to see if I get another bomber. And if I do, I get to keep going on and on until I eventually fail this roll. There's a couple other failure conditions as well. But the bomber stream skill basically says we don't even have to roll. If you have the bomber stream skill, you just automatically find the next bomber. So as long as you found the first bomber and triggered this bomber stream, you can go after as many as you want unless something else happens, because you can have things that damage to your own plane that causes you to drop out. That's one of the other things that could cause you to drop out. Anyways, I'm getting deep in the rules here, but this is actually pretty cool. I never ran into a bomber stream yet, so it was my first time. Okay, so what we do is we have to determine who we're fighting. So we need one of our charts here. Where did it go? Okay, so we rolled for the raid chart. Now we're going to roll for the aircraft chart. So we intercepted an aircraft. We're in August of 43, so we're going to determine what did we intercept. So we're going to roll 2 dice. I rolled an 8. An 8 is a Wellington. So you go over here. This really doesn't matter, but for thematic reasons, it's nice to find the one plane that... So that's a Wellington right there. Okay, then we come up over and you can see that the Sterling, the Halifax, Mosquito, and the Wellington is this guy. So there's like 3 sections here of damage. This is the Wellington. So he's got this chart that we use. So the Wellington only has 2 engines. These other ones have 4. So we could potentially take his engines out a bit easier because he's only a 2-engine bomber. Anyways, with that said, that's all you need this chart for. So you can set it aside now. All right, so we have our location. We've intercepted. It's a bomber stream. And our first target is a Wellington. Okay, so what we do next, I'm going to take my sheet and put it aside here. So you can follow along. 7.2, the bomber combat, is where we're at. And there's this Shraj music. I know I'm pronouncing it wrong. My bomber does not have that ability, so we don't get to do that. So first thing we have to decide is, are we doing a long range, medium range, or close? So here's the best way I can explain it. If you come in from long range, you're going to do 1 less hit on the bomber, and they're going to do 1 less hit on you because you're far away. But the way the sorties work, or the interception works, is your fighter, if you're coming from here, you would go 1, 2, 3, then you have to break away, and you can loop back around and start over. But you can start at any range. So when you loop around, or even when you start, you could just choose to go close range, loop, close range, loop, close range. You can keep doing close range attacks if you want. Or you can come in from the long range and you get 1, 2, 3. You can get 3 attacks in before you have to break away. Now, this special attack here, by the way, this attack is you're coming from underneath the bomber and you're shooting up. That's what this attack is, and my JU-88 doesn't have that ability. Here you can see the bomber stream exists, so I'm going to put that token there to indicate that we have bomber stream. And in a nutshell, if you start at long range, you have to progress up before you can break away. So you're basically committing to 3 rounds of attack. You know, if you're damaged, you may not want to sit there for 3 rounds of attack. Long range is 1 less hit for them, 1 less hit for you. Medium range is no bonus whatsoever, and then close range, you get an extra hit, they get an extra hit. And that's also indicated here. It explains it there too, on the operations map chart. So we're going to do long range. So we're going to come in long range, like that. Okay, that's the first thing you pick. Second thing you pick is, what are we attacking? We're going to go after the wing, we're going to go after the frame. I think those are our only choices. We can go after either wing or the frame. I don't think we get to target the fuel tank or the control. No, it's one of these 3. I'm going to go after the starboard wing. Why not? Okay, so once you declare what you're going to go after and your range, then the rest is just you draw 2 cards. The first card matters. So it says you're not spotted, you fire first. Okay. On your first pass, so this is considered a pass. So 1, 2, 3 parts of the. So what's the best way to explain this? Here you have to read. This contact event applies when you are having first contact. So if you break away and then re-engage, this applies. The corkscrew happens, so basically we're going to apply the event here, and then the corkscrew is going to happen these 2 rounds here. And so that's what this is saying. So let's say we were attacking, we finish our attack, and then we go to this. If we're at this step or this step, we ignore all this text. So this text here is completely ignored for the rest of the progression. But since this is our first one, we do use it. So we fire first. That's important. It's possible that they fire first, which is bad. Now, since I said we ignore the text, who fires first when you're here and here? When you're in these 2 spots, it's simultaneous. So you want your first time is the only time that you get an advantage over them or they get an advantage over you. Now, let's say I would have chosen to come here or there. It does not matter. You always use the text the first time you engage. It doesn't matter which one you used. It's just what it's saying is that the remainder would not use the text. I hope I made sense. It's in the rules. I hope this will play out. So anyways, sorry for the glare, but that's it. So then it says firepower hits. Remember, our plane does 12 firepower. Now, one of the things we were supposed to do before drawing the card is you have a chance to do what's called a stream. Like, you're basically focusing your gun and you're firing longer. There's an actual term, extended burst. That's what it's called. Sorry. It's called an extended burst. It would potentially use 2 ammo instead of 1. That's not what I did. I just did a normal attack. So we're going to use 1 ammo. Now, the rules say you must always attack with both. You can't choose to only use this to save your ammo. You cannot do that. You have to use both. So we're going to do, this is a 12 firepower attack. So if I look at the card, here's the firepower. You can see that the 12, I just did 4 hits, and this 4 is random. Now the GP is not random, and I'll explain that in a bit. But this means 4 random hits. You ignore this on the first card. On the second card, I'm going to slide this under to show that we ignore everything on the second card except for the bottom. So think of it this way. The bomber's going to do 3 hits to us. We're doing 4 hits to it. That's how you read these cards. We fire first. So if we somehow destroy this bomber with our 4 hits, we don't get any hits at all. I highly doubt that's going to happen, but that's what the advantage of firing first is. Now, corkscrew, what does that mean? If they're corkscrewing, you reduce this by 1 hit. So they would only do 3 hits. So they don't start the corkscrew until next round. So you don't have to worry about it. And again, sorry for the glare. Okay, so with that said, how do we resolve these random hits? Glad you asked. So now we go to this chart here. So this is what you use if it's group damage. Now group damage is this GP. GP is group damage, so what I would do is, since I'm doing the starboard wing, right, I would have done 1 damage to the control, 2 damage to the engine, 1 damage to the starboard wing, and then 1 random. All of that damage would have happened if I had the GP result. I don't. I have what's called a random result, so I use this table here. I'm aiming at the wings, so I'm going to use the right side of this table. If I was aiming at the gunner or the airframe, I would use the left side. Okay? Oh, and I forgot, yes, we could have chosen to aim at the gunner. Forgot about that. Okay, so with that said, I'm going to grab my D10. I'm going to move this over here because there's less glare over here. And we're going to roll. We get to roll 4. So I rolled a 4. Okay, so I use the right side. I do 1 damage to the airframe. So you take your damage token, and you find the airframe, you just put a damage there. If this fills up all the way, then it's destroyed. Pretty simple. Okay, next. I rolled a 3. That is the damage to the wing. Now remember, I'm doing the starboard wing, so it's that wing, it's not the other wing. Okay. One more roll. I rolled a 1. It's another damage to the wing. Now, this says I get 4. Why did I stop at 3? Does anybody remember? The reason I stopped at 3 is because we're long range. So we did 1 less damage when we're long range. See, it says -1 random hit. Now, the good news for us is they only did 2 hits to us instead of 3. So take your cards, put it away. Now it's their turn. And there is another side. B6 is what you're looking for. I use this. This is going to count as the 10s. This is going to count as the 1s, the black die. So it'll make sense when I roll. So this is a 15. So I go to 15, and my main radar was damaged. That's not good. So you grab a damage token and you put it on the main radar. Damaged. All right, and then I have another hit coming. 14. FUB1 2F. I have no idea what that stands for, but I don't have an FUB1 2F. I believe that is a special type of gun or radar, and I don't have an FB1 2F, so nothing happens. That's lucky. Let's see if that is really what... Let's see. Oh, we had to make sure we were faster than the target. That was a check you have to do. So our speed is 17, their speed is 12. So that's why we were able to intercept this. The only bomber that I cannot intercept at this point would be a Mosquito with a speed of 18. They're the only ones. So that's the reason why I skipped that step. But this is the part I was trying to explain. So if you need more, 728 talks about the pass and the text on the cards. You must decide whether to attack again. If you started at close range, you must wheel around for a second pass if you wish to keep attacking, or whether to break off. If there's another round of combat, you will again flip over 2 more cards and keep doing this. Bombers automatically corkscrew, If you choose to break off, the bomber gets away with whatever damage. There is a check to see if the bomber still crashes. If you decide to make, you must wheel around. And it's possible for them to escape. So every time you wheel around, there's a chance that they'll escape. So you have to manage that. That's the reason why I came in at long range. So I'm going to get 3 shots at this guy before he gets a chance to escape. What I'm trying to find is they just damaged something on my plane that does not exist. So does that mean I just get a generic damage somewhere else? That's what I'm trying to figure out. And I apologize. Engine damage does not preclude a Nightfighter damage. German Nightfighters receive damage. All damage. If you receive a fuel tank hit, roll an explosion. If the Nightfighter is at close range, this is if they blow up. That's if a bomb explodes. It does not say what happens if you roll a damage for something that you don't actually have. So this FUB1 2F I don't have. So just to explain, I was thinking, okay, well then maybe I have to randomly do damage somewhere else, right? Since I don't have it, I still take damage somewhere, right? Or maybe I would have to roll again. But it doesn't say that. So I think we're okay. I can check with the designer on that, and I apologize. I didn't run into this scenario before doing this video. Okay, we're going to move on with the assumption that no damage occurs. And we'll fix it in the comments later if it didn't. Okay, that's it. That's a whole round. So we'll go up and we're doing the second pass. We're now at medium range, so there's no penalty. I have to pick. I'm still going to go after that same wing, the starboard wing, since I have 2 out of 3 damage. That's my best shot at taking this plane out. So I'm going to draw 2 cards. The top card, I'm going to move this over for less glare. And then the second card, which I'll put underneath, like this. Okay, so now that we're in the second attempt here of this pass, we ignore all the text here. We ignore this always. That bomber is going to do 2 hits to us, and we have 12 firepower. We're going to do 5 hits to it. But now, it's simultaneous. Ignore the fact that this says it's simultaneous. It's simultaneous no matter what. Once you finish your first shot, it's simultaneous from here on out. Okay, so they're going to do 2 hits on us. We do 5 hits on them. I always like seeing how I get hit first. So I'm going to do me. So I rolled a 55. So 55 is our airframe got hit. So I'm going to put 1 damage on the airframe. And a 12 is the port wing. So I'm going to come over, and our port wing took a damage. And that's it, because we only had 2 hits on us. So now we get to do 5 hits on them. I'm going to flip this over. We're going to roll. I rolled a 6. Remember, I'm aiming at the wing, and then I did an engine in. Okay, I did have to get clarification on this, but the engine in is, it really only matters when you have 4 engines, so the engine takes damage. Next. I rolled a 1, the wing is hit, and the bomber is destroyed. It goes down. So from there you can just stop. Remember, everything's simultaneous, so the damage he did to you, I was supposed to write Wellington, so I can write well here, because we encountered him on the 5th spot, and then the circle means we killed him, or destroyed him. And I'm going to go ahead and just roll those off. We're done. We just knocked out we got our first kill on this video. So now, we had bomber stream, so a little premature in knocking everything off. We had bomber stream, so instead of this moving to the right, which is what normally would happen, we're staying right where we are, and we're going to roll for interception, which is this. So I'm going to roll. I rolled a 6. Now, that would be no interception, but do we have no working radar? Our radar is damaged, so we do not. So that 6 becomes a 5. We have a bright moon, so that adds +1. That becomes a 6 again. And then we would add another one if our radar was working, and it's not. So no interception. We failed. Since there's no interception, this moves over. So we're going to roll again. Oh, it's a D10. I rolled a 1. Okay, a natural 1 means you're screwed. The Compass Games wrote unsure of location, but they meant to say you're screwed. That's what that was supposed to say. Okay, so what it means is there's no contact, and now if you have the navigation skill, you can ignore that. We don't have the navigation skill. I can tell you it basically means you're going to lose. This would move 2 to the right. You're going to basically, you're forced to move. You lose, you get lost, basically. So then we're forced to land, okay? So now we have to roll for a landing check. And you can tell that here, because this is where we crossed out the roll for the weather. The designer said you do not do this. You roll to land the aircraft. It's a 2d6 on the B7 table. Okay, so we take our 2d6, we find B7, which is on the top right here. And I have a 9. Okay, so a 9 is a safe landing. So if the FUB1 2F is present and working, we get a -1. I don't even know what a FUB1 2F is, but we don't have it. landing skill, full moon. Has our controls been hit? No. Just to recap, our airframe is hit, and our port wing is hit, and our radar is hit. So let's go back. We don't have any serious wounds. Our controls are not hit. Our landing gear is fine. We have no engines that are out. Our the weather, was it poor? No, our weather was good. So there's no weather, and then sucked in would be really bad. That's really bad weather. So there's no modifiers that impact us here. So we rolled a 9, and as you can see, we landed safely. Everything else would have been very bad. So anyways, we landed safely, and so then we do what's called obtain awards, prestige points, and experience points, blah, blah, blah. And then we would keep repeating the sortie line here. And so what it's saying is you just repeat again and again down here. So we actually are doing my third one. This is your first one. This is my third one. So we got 1 kill. So sortie 3 is over. And I'll show you the after landing what happens. So the best I can recommend is you come here. There's a debriefing section. And you just, in the beginning, you're going to want to go through this. If you have injured crew, you're going to have to deal with that here. We don't. The landing situation is described here in 8. We don't have to deal with that. We landed safely, which this part here. So here we go. Your crew skills, you can spend, like for example, this costs 6 experience points to get aim. I only have 2. See, I only have 2. I don't get another experience point until I've completed 4 sorties, and as you can see, I've only done 3. So I don't have that. I have 2 experience points. There's a couple spots like I can get a parachute or a navigation skill. I am currently choosing not to spend them. This is for you and your crew, because remember, your crew can also get experience points. Right now, my crew has 0 experience points. I do have a radar operator and a rear gunner. So first thing you do, experience points. Next. Okay, just trying to focus here. Next we do prestige. Okay, so as a general rule, it's saying every time you get an award, you get a prestige point. There's a few spots here where you don't. It explains it. So what you do is you go one by one. We're not wounded, so we can skip the wound badge. The Iron Cross second class we already have. The Iron Cross first class is awarded upon downing a second aircraft. Guess what? We got 2. So we get the Iron Cross first class. I think that's this one. Yes. So then we put that right here. Pin it on. This is just some flavor text explaining the point system in real life, and that bombers were worth so many points that if you got 2 kills, you basically got the Iron Cross. This one, after 20 flights, you get your first clasp. We've done 3. So we can skip that. Then there's this 20 kills, you can potentially get this. Nothing there. Now, we did get the Iron Cross, so I did jump ahead. We moved to Prestige Level 2, and we now have 2 Prestige points. So we flip that over. Okay? And then if you go through the rest, you're going to find we don't get any of these other ones either. Okay, you get Ace status if you've killed 5. We don't have that. We didn't fight a mosquito. We didn't fight a B-17. Okay? Promotions don't happen until much, much later. And they are right here. It tells you. So we have to finish a lot of sorties before you can get your first promotion. And if you're doing promotions, there's this little chart. You roll, you want to get a 1 through a 4. There's some modifiers based on how well you're doing. Or bad. You can be doing bad too. Okay, and then the last part is your prestige level. You can spend points to do various things. And I'll let you read through those yourself. For example, you can reassign to a new aircraft. You can upgrade your aircraft. There's in the same series, so I'm a JU-88, so I can get another JU-88 if I'm willing to spend 1 point. If I'm willing to spend 2 points, I can upgrade to a newer aircraft in a different series, so I can switch to like a BF-110 or something like that. You can reassign to a new unit, but you lose a sortie. So what that means is you're going to have to skip. So you would skip this one and move to that one. You don't want to do that while you're getting a +2 from a full moon. You want to do that when it's dark or there's no moon. That's when you want to do those shenanigans. So anyways, there's a lot of stuff here. One of the things that I'm going to read this and see if I can do is maybe I want to move to a Dutch air base. So I'm going to see if I have the right prestige points to do that, because this Munich location stinks. Anyways, so my plane safely landed, so I'm in the hangar. I'm going to see if I can get to a Dutch location, and maybe one of these will let me do it. This is just explaining that your level is different than your points. So if I spend my prestige points, my level never goes down. It's always level 2, even if I don't have any prestige points left. That's all that's saying. And that's it. You've just seen probably an extremely long-winded version of one sortie. They do give you a nice description of how to fill in your log. If you want to do reassignment, there's some rules for if your crew member dies. There's some rules for if you get wounded and go into the hospital, your crewmen get reassigned. So you have to get fresh new crewmen with your new plane after you're out of the hospital. There's rules about all those kind of things. We didn't experience those, of course, with what we're doing. I frankly don't remember all of them. I know them well enough to tell you that something happens. But the rule book is not bad in that regard. It does explain those things. You may have to spend some time finding the right section. There's some pretty awesome optional rules, including the assassination of Hitler, should you want to add that to your game. There's even a pilot fatigue option. There's a lot of cool little things in here, and there's some really great historical context as well. My biggest thing is if you're trying to do this and not watching my video to learn how to do it, is this rulebook does not let you just read it as you go. It mostly does, but there's a few spots where you're going to get really confused, and there's some diagrams, like this one on page 11 should be on page 1, to be quite honest. But that's fine. It's all here. It's just maybe a little scatterbrained. And there are a lot of errors, as we pointed out. There's probably a few more I haven't even noticed yet. But anyways, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. I can maybe do a campaign series with this. I'm still learning this myself. Very different than Skies Above the Reich if you're comparing the two. I know they both came out around the same time, so the temptation is very high to say, what's the difference? This one is, I would say they're both equally as immersive. This one, of course, is very personal because you're just dealing with your own single pilot. The sorties and the attacks on the bombers are probably a little more straightforward. The thing with Skies Above the Reich is they are daytime missions. These are nighttime missions. So there's a big difference just in that factor. I like the Skies Above the Reich because the formation map is a puzzle. You know, which angle do I use to approach? You know, whereas this is not about angles. It's just about you draw 2 cards. How much firepower do you have? Done. Okay. One thing I forgot to show you is when I was at medium range, when I was here, I should have done what's called the extended burst. And what that means is I would have used potentially 2 fuel. And there's a extended burst chart. Now, mind you, I still destroyed the bomber, no problem. So don't worry about that. Oh, we forgot something. We forgot something. There's a spoof raid check I was supposed to do before I even intercepted. So I rolled a 9. No effect. Okay. Had I gotten a 10, 11, or a 12, I would have lost boxes. So meaning this would have moved to the right, and I would not have gotten my intercept. I'm supposed to do this the same time I did the electronics check. So if you're keeping track and you're screaming at the YouTube video because I missed a very important step, you're right. And this was supposed to happen during the electronics check. It's a one-time thing you do when you take off. And anyways, we rolled a 9. There was no effect. Nothing changes, but it could have, given, you know, what you roll. Okay, so back to the extended burst. Give me a sec. Here we go. There's an extended burst chart. So what I would do is I'd roll 2d6. So I rolled a 4. So I'd go here and I would get plus 3 hits and I'm blinded. So what happens is you use 2 ammo instead of 1. And then whenever I was attacking this guy, I would have gotten 3 more hits than whatever my card said. I think the card said I got to do 4 damage to him. I would have done 3 more. And then I would have been blinded. Now, blinded, it's in the rule book somewhere. What happens? It's not good. We would have had to figure that out eventually. I would have to look that up in the rules. But none of that happened because I forgot to even try it. But it's an option that you have. It burns a lot of extra ammo. I had to burn 2 ammo instead of 1, but it was a way to get a whole bunch of extra hits in. And one of the strategies I'm contemplating is when you know that you're attacking first, because you get to see that. No, you don't. No, you don't. If you think you're going to be attacking first, you could maybe do an extended burst, and maybe you can kill the bomber before he even gets a chance to fire back. That, to me, is an excellent time to use extended burst. Or if you're somehow here and you're desperate to kill him before you break away, that's another time. Anyways, I apologize for adding another 5 minutes, but I wanted to explain a few things. There's some little things, like there's events. We haven't even run into any of those. There's other things that can happen. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful.